Welcome to TV Africa News. Thank you so much for joining us and always being part of us. Welcome to this edition of Africa Today. My name is Nahabe Kajura. But first, other headlines. Lawyers handed to CID over 2 billion shillings compensation scam. Conflict separates hundreds of children from their parents. Moroccan facing possible execution in Ukraine plead for mercy. In our sports news, Crested Cranes dispatch Zambia in practice game. Once again, thank you so much for joining us. We start with one of our top stories. The Committee on Commissions, Statutory Authorities and State Enterprises has handed over two lawyers, Kyle Lubega and Richard Buzibida, to the Criminal Investigation Department in Parliament over their role in 2 billion shillings compensation scam. Now, CID has been tasked to investigate two lawyers for their role in the 2 billion shillings land compensation scandal. We have the report.
The Committee on Commissions, Statutory Authorities and State Enterprises in investigating the circumstances under which a Kampala-based law firm, Lubega and Buzibida Company advocates, represented 79-year-old Natalia Namuli in the sale of 516 hectares of land in Kagadi District, Western Region. The 2 billion shillings compensation was part of the 10.6 billion shillings supplementary expenditures to the Ministry of Lands, Housing and Urban Development in the financial year 2020-2021, meant to pay 6 landlords. However, the committee in June 2021 received a request from the genuine owner of the land, led by John Kalete Antoine, the representative of the grandchildren of John Kaleta, the actual owner of the land, stopping any further payment or compensation, claiming the people being paid were illegitimate owners. Appearing before the Parliamentary Committee on Tuesday, the lawyers claimed that they had paid Namuli 218 million shillings cash on July 22, 2020, but Namuli and her son-in-law, Peter Amara, have distanced themselves from the payment claim. The lawyers have also been faulted in the forging of documents and signatures, among others, to validate the claim. The lawyers also gave out contradictory messages regarding the money allegedly received by Namuli. The two were put under oath so that the truth can be established by the committee. Committee members say that the lawyers had forged documents and had not told the committee the truth. They further asked the ULC with the recovery of the land. Away from that, the Prime Minister of Uganda, Right Honourable Robert Nabanjo, has directed the technical team of Kampala Capital City Authority to team up with Uganda Bureau of Statistics and get the correct figures of all individuals eligible to benefit from the Parish Development Model Initiative. Now, Nabanjo was presiding over the launch of the Parish Development Medical Model Initiative in Rubaga Division that is aimed at alleviating poverty among Ugandans.
On Monday, Kampala ministers and the KCCA technical team and political leaders agreed to dedicate the whole of this week to undertake activities aimed at accelerating the pace at which the residents in Kampala's 99 parishes embrace the parish development model, which government believes will accelerate Uganda's economic transformation by diminishing household poverty. While officiating over the launch of the parish development model in Rubaga Division, Prime Minister Robin Nabbanja directed the KCCA technical team to team up with Uganda Bureau of Statistics to get the correct information and numbers of every individual from all the 99 parishes that make up Kampala and ensure that the money reaches the right targeted beneficiaries.
Households Ubos tetunabakola nayo naye nga twafunye training of trainers tubadde tukyalinda funding because kubanga bw'oba tolina ubos ojja kufuna nga data emu togifuna otegedde and therefore njagala okukulakira omanyizi ate kisaba ndagira bulagizi okwanagane mangu n'ekitongole kya ubos era batabani bange bali wano aba Prime Minister's office. I am directing you to get in touch with the Executive Director Ubos to team up with Kampala such that abantu bonna bafuna omuntu omayinza obafunako emirundi 5.
Nabanja explained that parish development model is targeting the poor to help eradicate poverty among Ugandans whose only profit is 6%. She said this money should be refunded after 3 years.
Ekirala kiki kyotalina n'amaka talina na nnyumba kakati eyo ye tageti yaffe oba tuli fenna puroguramu eno y'abaavu abalina ssente mweno puroguramu tebakoze eki abo abagagga abagamba miliyoni ya ssente temala bagende mu myoga bageze emyoga weziri abo bagende mu banka tuli fenna.
The whole of this week has been dedicated to engagement meetings between KCCA technical wing leaders, political leaders including ministers and elected officials. The very inclusive meetings will also have other stakeholders taking part, and the idea is to demonstrate the extent to which Kampala has readied itself to participate in the rolling out of the multi-billion Government of Uganda project.
Ekibanga abakozi ba KCCA tebatambuza mulimu bulungi tutegeeze tubakyuse.
The parish development model is a government strategy or approach for organizing and delivering public and private sector interventions for wealth creation and employment generation at the parish level as the lowest economic planning unit. This will ensure support for more Ugandans to increase their demands for goods and services.
Moving on, government through NITA has announced its final move of closing down the Regional Communication Infrastructure Program, a program that was initiated by government in 2016 with an ultimate goal of transforming public service delivery in the country using ICT in 5 years. We have the report.
According to officials from NITA, major targets of the organization have been attained in 5 years since its inception in 2016, and among these includes the fight against corruption, connecting of government institutions to internet, as Sekyondwa Augustine explains. Speaking to the press at Uganda Media Center in Kampala, Sekyondwa Augustine explained some of the ministries which have been so far connected to internet, and these includes the Agricultural Ministry, Education, and among others.
Asylum has achieved one of the highest targets within the projects of the World Bank. We have achieved 100% project completion, or we will be achieving 100% project completion in August. Our SIP comes to an end in August, and by the time we close off the project, 100% of our targets that we set out to undertake will have been achieved.
Hatwib Mugasa, the CEO NITA, says that they are to work hard in ensuring that Ugandans have access to internet since the world is more of technology today.
We undertook this project with 4 sectors in mind. This was agriculture sector, health sector, education, and the justice, law and order sector. And in all those sectors, we have fully developed and deployed solutions to enable them to transform.
According to government, over 300 new places have been so far connected to free internet. For example, Gulu district and among others.
National IT Authority, for the general public and for those out there, is a government agency that was set up to head and drive digitization in Uganda, to be able to automate and to be able to use ICT and digital technology to drive efficiency in government, but also to improve their lives and to make easy the lives of our citizens using ICT. So when
we rolled out 742 kilometers of last mile and 842 kilometers of, I would like to term it middle mile or fiber optic cable. So within RCIP, we were able to extend our national backbone infrastructure, and currently it's at 4,100 and or 4,200 kilometers or fiber optic cable, both the backbone and the last mile and middle mile fiber optic cable.
It should be noted that the government of Uganda in 2016 secured financing from the World Bank to implement the Regional Communication Infrastructure Program to transform public service delivery.
Well, Africa Today takes a quick break. We shall come back with the international news. Welcome back from the break. You're still watching TV Africa, the right to know. In international news, clashes between M23 rebels and the DRC's armed forces have led to massive displacement of the population of Rushuru territory in the eastern province of North Kivu. Now, many children have been separated from their parents.
The International Committee for the Red Cross has confirmed that several children have been separated from their families. According to Maniraguha Nzabagasani, who spends the night with 4 kids in a school in Nyiragongo Mboga near Goma, when she fled, 2 of her children were separated from her, and she is also taking care of 2 children who have been separated from their families. Justin Zabahariye, another displaced mother, said that her child had spent the night at the neighbor's house when suddenly early in the morning at 3 a.m., there was the crackling of bullets that led them to flee with those who were with her. Raphael Tenut, head of the ICRC Goma sub-delegation, said that more than 800 children are so far unaccompanied, have lost track of their parents and of their families. Raphael added that these are children who have found themselves displaced with people they don't know and who are now being traced back to their parents. According to UNICEF, since the end of March, more than 158,000 people, half of whom are children, have been displaced in the Rushuru territories following the intensification of armed clashes.
More of our international news, Taha Sadoun, the father of a Moroccan man facing possible execution by Russian-backed separatists in Ukraine, appealed on Monday to Russian President Putin to intervene as a father to spare his son from the firing squad. Take a look at the story.
While talking to reporters in the Moroccan capital Rabat, Taha Sadoun said that he wanted his son back just like any other father would. Sadoun also called on Morocco's government to pursue negotiations on behalf of his son, Brahim, who was sentenced on June 9th to the death penalty alongside 2 Britons, Aiden Aslin and Sean Pina. A court in the self-proclaimed People's Republic convicted all 3 of terrorism and trying to overturn constitutional order. They were given a month to appeal and could be executed as soon as early July if they don't. Sadoun's father insisted that Brahim was not only a mercenary as the court claims, but also enlisted in Ukraine's regular army. The Republic's foreign minister said that none of the 3 death-sentenced men have filed yet for pardons. The father said Brahim's local lawyer will submit the appeal as soon as things have calmed down a bit without providing a date.
Away from that, the fate of several migrants in transit in Kigali has been brought under the spotlight since Britain hatched a controversial deal with Rwanda in April to deport unwanted asylum seekers to the East African country, thousands of kilometers away. We have the report.
Residents live in small units at Gashora, which has seen almost 1,100 people come through its doors since 2019 when Rwanda agreed to offer shelter to refugees from Libya. Rwanda has been offering shelter to refugees from Libya since 2019. Many of them regret coming to Rwanda, but they are not willing to go back home. Banaga said that he had a frustrating and fruitless time waiting in vain in a Rwandan transit center for the Canadian asylum request to be approved. The 33-year-old Sudanese said he is fed up. He is considering a trek back to war-torn Libya to try to make it to Europe across the Mediterranean, a perilous voyage that has taken the lives of many. The scheme, which triggered outrage among rights groups, church leaders, and at the United Nations has been blocked by a European court, although both Kigali and London insist they are committed to it going ahead.
Now, a protest was held outside the High Commissioner for Refugees office in Rabat, Morocco, by African migrants on Tuesday. It comes after dozens died on Friday while attempting to cross by force into the Spanish autonomous city of Melilla from Moroccan territory.
At least 23 migrants died and 140 police officers were injured, according to Moroccan authorities, when some 2,000 migrants tried to cross the high wire fence separating Melilla from the northern Moroccan border town of Nada. The Spanish Republic Prosecutor's Office announced that it had requested an investigation to shed light on what happened hours after the UN demanded an independent inquiry into the tragedy. The deadliest ever recorded on the borders between Morocco and the two Spanish enclaves of Ceuta and Melilla in the EU's only borders on the African continent. The Spanish prosecutor's office motivated its decision by the seriousness of the events that occurred, which could affect the human rights and fundamental rights of people. For its part, the UN called on both countries to ensure an effective and independent investigation and denounced excessive use of force against migrants. In Rabat, about 50 migrants demonstrated on Tuesday in front of the office of the UN High Commissioner for Refugees in Rabat against the inhuman treatment inflicted by Moroccan law enforcement agencies on Friday and to claim refugee status. The majority of new migrants flowing into Morocco come from Sudan, particularly from Darfur, where a new outbreak of violence has recently left hundreds dead and 50,000 displaced. Many are coming through Libya and Algeria despite an officially closed border with Morocco to reach the Cherifian Kingdom.
Now, Africa Today takes a quick break. We shall come back with business, health and sports. Welcome back from the break. You're still watching TV Africa, the Bright to Know. In a business news today, Africans in New York got a taste of home during the first official weekend of summer with a festival that highlighted the continent's culture. Now, African fashion, food, and music were celebrated at the 4th Annual African Pop-Up Festival in Brooklyn, New York.
The event, a precursor to the African Restaurant Week, usually held in October in New York, saw over a dozen vendors from different parts of New York and neighboring state, New Jersey, in attendance. Fashion was the main attraction of the event. German Prem Senchire of Adinkra Republic, New York, who was among the celebrants, said that his brand serves three purposes, including education, inspiring, and giving 10% of their proceedings to support children with autism. Besides clothing and its accessories, including jewelry, there was also skincare products available. With nearly all COVID-19 restrictions lifted across the United States, organizers of the African Pop-Up Festival have a packed itinerary for the second half of the year, starting with the African Restaurant Week in New Jersey in July. With the summer season now in full swing across the United States, organizers of the African Pop-Up Festival say they are looking to expand the festival to other states, including Atlanta in the south, in hopes of spreading the African culture and giving a further boost to African businesses.
Now, talking matters health in Africa today, the urgency decreed in Lisbon can only be overcome in humanity manages to resolve different contradictions. Now, for example, the deep sea extraction of fossil energy resources collides with the preservation of the oceans. Now, there are policymakers among all exporting countries aware of the need for the new solution. According to João Lourenço, Angola's president, heads of state and government, representatives of the scientific community, the private sector and civil society will seek at this summit to find answers to growing need to implement new paradigms of sustainable exploitation of the immense resources that the oceans place at the disposal, which they must seek to exploit in an increasingly sustainable way and preserve the future generations. Fossil resources are sources of wealth that no country can do without, as Mozambique's Minister of Sea explains, especially when they allow other development goals to be reached. Lydia Cardoso, Minister of Sea, Inland Waters and Fisheries, say that although they know that the issue of exploration of hydrocarbons, like other explorations that are done at sea, has some bad effects, there is need to control the situations. According to Professor David Johnson, the coordinator of the Global Ocean Biodiversity Initiative, the balance is delicate but possible, although an energy paradigm shift is needed. Professor David Johnson added that oil and gas industry has been totally regulated and biodiversity can coexist with sustainable operations if they are properly licensed with environmental impact assessment. In sports news today, Uganda women's national football team did not find trouble in overcoming Zambia on Tuesday in a practice game as the two nations continue with preparations for the forthcoming Women African Cup of Nations 2022. Now, the Crested Cranes were ruthless, outwitting the Copper Queens with a 5-0 win in the game played at Grand Stade de Marrakesh.
Viola Nambi led away with a brace, while Fauzia Najemba, Rita Kivumbi and substitute Fazila Ikwapot added a goal apiece. Kivumbi and Nambi, who did not have a chance to train with the team in Kampala, proved to be important additions. The duo seized the opportunity to give more selection headache to coach George Lutalo, especially in the forward positions, with Sandra Bamweteme and Ikwapot, who were influential in Sekafa triumph, starting on bench. Kivumbi, who plays for Målbackens IF in Sweden, broke the deadlock in the 37th minute before Nambi and Najemba fired home in quick succession to give Uganda a comfortable 3-0 lead heading into the break. Uganda continued to dominate proceedings even after the break, with Nambi getting Uganda's fourth and her second on the day in the 57th minute. Coach Lutalo made a triple change, bringing on Ikwapot, Lilian Mutuzo and Fiona Nabumba for Najemba, Nambi and Hasifa Nasuna in that order. The win gives Uganda confidence going into the first Group A game against Senegal on Sunday in Rabat.
Well, thank you so much for being a loyal audience from where we started from. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We should keep updating you. It is TV Africa, the right to know.